So I'm here with Rob Newton, the Senior Director of Marketing for ChargePoint, which should be a pretty spirited conversation concerning session fees, which is kind of a prickly topic, but I'm sure we can navigate it and see what the story is behind the email that we all got as ChargePoint account holders, I guess is a way of describing it. I believe the ChargePoint app, if you have your credentials loaded into them, that makes you a ChargePoint account holder. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you do create a ChargePoint account, but we internally call them ChargePoint drivers. So, we think of them as our drivers on our EMSP service.
And I was looking at the history. If we could go over a little bit, and we'll have you do your introduction. But boy, ChargePoint has really gone way back in history here since the beginning of EV creation. So if you can, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and ChargePoint as a company, in case anyone's unaware of who ChargePoint is.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks again, Walter, for having me. My name is Rob Newton. I'm a Senior Director of Marketing here at ChargePoint. Been here just over 2.5 years. And ChargePoint has actually been around for almost 20 years, right? Since before the first EVs were commercially, available. And I think, that obviously is something we feel like gives us a benefit. We've seen it all. We've sort of been in every part of this business. The way we think of ourselves is really the all-in-one solution for EV charging. So we obviously make chargers that are commercial and that are out in the wild that you can choose to charge at or at your workplace. We also make hardware for users at their home. So home chargers that people can use if they want to charge their EV in their garage. We make software on the commercial side that you can manage the chargers with if you're a business or you're a fleet. And sort of just runs the gamut of everything you would want to do with that, between reporting and then doing, taking certain actions to make the driver experience better, with things like a wait list, for example, that helps them, get in a queue and be able to get a charge at their place of business or at other places they want to charge. And then we also have the mobile app, as you mentioned. So the mobile app is really the place where people sign up, become an account holder for ChargePoint, and that's where they can find, use, and pay for charging, along with some other services we add on top of that. And then, of course, we have a services business, so we make sure that we want to make these chargers last for as long as they possibly can out in the wild. So we have a number of support services, commissioning services, and consulting services as well that make sure that the chargers are reliable as possible.
Yeah, in the EV industry and the charging industry, I've heard described as nascent multiple times by people I've interviewed, and the fact that you've survived as long as you have is truly a success story. And here we are crossing into 2026, and we'll get to some numbers of 2025 here in just a second. And actually, let me just kind of cue up with a Rick Wimmer quote that recently came out that says, ChargePoint believes we have entered the next phase of EV adoption. Nearly 60% of the 19.3 billion electric miles we have enabled in nearly 18 years took place over the most recent 2 years. So
right. Yeah,
you held your space, and here we are on the verge of just a enormous successful growth in the industry. And the buzzword that I've been hearing a lot is vehicles in operation. It might not be the sales numbers we're looking at, but the number of vehicles in operation out there is just in excess of what is available for the charging infrastructure. And so everyone's kind of scrambling in order to get caught up. And you guys are right in the thick of it, as far as I could tell. Week after week, I see numbers with ChargePoint additions getting added. As in the middle of the winter, also when everyone else is kind of taking a break because the ground is frozen, you guys are just chugging right along. It's really impressive to see week over week progress like that. There's a company called Parent, but we'll get into that in just a second. But so there was an email recently sent out, which is the purpose of this call. Let me just bring up that email onto view. And this was specifically sent to me. I'm assuming it's the same that everyone got, talking about a upcoming service fee, which has never been a part of ChargePoint's pricing formula, as far as I'm aware. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Specifically calling out station reliability and upgrading the app. So instead of picking this email apart, since we can get it directly from you, if we can just kind of get a little bit of background on what this program entails and the purpose of it and what we can expect.
Yeah, and really appreciate you bringing me on to chat about this. So as I mentioned, ChargePoint is we think of ourselves as sort of an all-in-one comprehensive EV charging solutions provider. You'll see a lot of folks out in the market. As this market has seen some consolidation, folks are focusing on really specific pieces of the pie. But I think in our mind, like in order to have the best chargers, the best way to manage those chargers, everything is going to rely on the driver experience. And so we've invested a massive amount of our time, our effort, and of course, financially into that driver experience. So we've offered our app for free for many years. We've, wanted to make sure that folks on the driver side could find, use, and pay for charging really quickly and effectively. That's why we've created all these roaming agreements with other networks to make sure that they are able to, so that people are able to find a place to charge. And then, of course, for our business customers, we want to help them find drivers, bring drivers to their place of business. And so that's how that helps them as well. With that investment, of course, comes a lot of cost. And, as we've seen this just continue to increase, we had a choice. It was either continue with the status quo and continue to not innovate. And that's just not in our DNA. I think if you've seen what we've done over the past year, we've actually turned the entire product portfolio over on. So we have a new AC charging line in the Flex line.
Which is really getting a lot of traction. That level 2 product line is definitely successful.
Yeah, and I think similarly, we want to make sure that we have a mobile experience and a driver experience that all matches up to that. So we are leaning very heavily into development of a new mobile app. I think we've made that clear on a couple of our earnings calls. So we're excited to have that launched out into the market very soon. But with that, of course, comes cost, and so we decided that in order to be able to continue to fund that innovation, both there, but also across the driver experience with how those chargers work, how our software can help them work better with great features like waitlist and connections, as I mentioned before. All of that meant that we needed to find a place to sort of fund some of that. So that's primarily how we are using this service fee. I want to be clear because a lot of people, it sounds like session fee. People mistake it for session fee. The service fee is something that is only between ChargePoint and our drivers, right? So it is not something that is. So there is a session fee that a CPO can choose to charge the driver as well. They can choose to say, "Oh, we want to charge something
different than a session fee." My apologies, I didn't realize that.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We make it internally too, so it's not a big deal. But the service fee is the one that we have just announced, and it is about. Just the fee that is between ChargePoint and the driver. And again, it's meant to serve those very specific driver experience improving initiatives in terms of what it will fund and how we'll be using it.
There's definitely been a lot of innovation coming out. As you mentioned, the level 2, I was a part of the press crew that was covering that, and also the OmniDock has been tremendously successful. That is a terrific experience when you pull up to a station that's got a ChargePoint OmniDock. It's just, you don't have to worry about carrying the adapter, and it's built right in and everything. It's definitely a slick use of your engineering skills, and having that deployed so quickly was very impressive. And so as I mentioned, we have been seeing very steady growth from ChargePoint, and according to Perrin, which I'm assuming you've heard of Perrin?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Yeah, so they said that in 2025, excluding Tesla, ChargePoint was the CPO that deployed the most DC fast chargers in the United States, which is just a tremendous win considering momentum is all over the place. But still, ChargePoint, once again, remains the United States leader for DC fast charger implementation. And any thoughts on where this is going in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I think we expect it to continue. We think that the chargers that we build, provide a high quality experience. We are, I think that when we were talking about this a little bit before, and you talked a little bit about Omniport, we talk about speed, we talk about all the different things that are benefiting this, but ultimately with the infrastructure still behind the vehicle growth. And one common misconception is that vehicles are, like the sales are slowing. The growth in the sales is slowing, but you're still seeing growth year over year in terms of EV purchases. So what I posit is that, I think we're going to continue to see more growth in utilization, and that's going to lead to the continued success of the infrastructure. The real thing that we're excited about, though, is that we have been able to continue to innovate. So, we spoke with Out of Spec about this at the end of last year in September at the RE Plus show. We're really excited to see the DC charging, space move into higher power. We're coming up with ways to really lower CapEx, lower operating expenses with the way that you need to, with the way that you can share power across your site. And so we're just very excited about where that's going to take the industry in terms of, presenting even higher quality experiences with our chargers. On the AC side as well, I think, you're seeing a new line of AC chargers coming from us. in the very near future. We're thinking about ways to continue to innovate. And the last real piece of that is that we have our own full stack, which we're able to innovate vertically, but we're also able to innovate horizontally across the ecosystem because of these partnerships we have, right? So we have a big partnership with Eaton, which has been superbly, great at helping us innovate, all the way back to the grid. And for years, we've had all these partnerships with the OEMs to make sure that all the things we're building are going to be, compatible with the vehicles that are coming out, that we're thinking about these things together as an industry so that they can serve drivers in the best way possible.
Just tremendously impressive. And I did see recently there was a recent station opening in, I believe it was New Jersey, associated with the school system. And I'm assuming for buses that ChargePoint put into, and just, the number of use cases in the fleet behind the fence, and ChargePoint, as you say, kind of a turnkey approach for a full service fleet operation, refueling for electric transportation is really endless in the United States. They say that small, medium business fleet operation is really the sweet spot. You guys definitely have a compelling product suite for that, sir. And one thing I did want to bring up, though, is because the stations are most often, I guess, operated is the right word, by the site host. And correct me if my understanding is off here. The new program is mentioning reliability. Let me just bring that up again. And I guess I'm a little bit unclear of exactly how that plays out. I'm assuming maybe there's a subsidy from the service charge for the maintenance of the chargers, or these are for ones that are actually run by ChargePoint and not other independent, or not, I guess independent operator is not the right term, but I guess a site host who's actually running the hardware. So I guess I don't know if you're able to, obviously NDAs and contract terms being what they are, but I don't know if you could.
No. I'm happy to talk about it. And it really actually isn't necessarily associated with the terms. Sorry, excuse me. Not necessarily associated with the terms that we have with our different partners. Sorry. Sorry about that. So the way that this works is that many of the innovations that we're taking on are actually very specifically focused towards reliability, right? So one of the ways that our station owners are able to create a really good driver experience is by taking advantage of our support program called Assure. Assure gives them the ability to have parts and labor covered on their stations. They're able to have a lot of it's essentially a reliability mechanism where we'll be able to make it much easier for them to roll trucks to get things repaired. And one of the pieces of that we've been spending a lot of time really working on and advancing is our network operations center, where we're able to monitor what's happening with the station. It turns out that for all the tickets that are filed for a ChargePoint station, any kind of repair, anything that needs to be done, 75% of them are filed by ChargePoint. So we actually just detect that something's wrong with the station and file it ourselves. We've also announced a couple of different things to help with this. So one is that we've launched a program called Safeguard Care, which is a service where you can have someone come by on a biweekly, a monthly, quarterly, whatever you choose basis to inspect your stations on site. It's actually a share and economy service, and they come by and they just take a look. They can make minor repairs, but they also can phone in any repairs that they can't complete on site. And so we're looking to see that number go from 75% up to even higher, because we'll have them be filing tickets on our behalf to go and source a repair. So that's one of the things we've been working on. I think last year we also announced an improvement to our report a problem feature, where you can actually take a picture of the station and we run AI models over it to detect what's physically wrong with it. And then that forms a ticket. And the coolest part about this, and the reason that it's got really great uptake, thousands and thousands and thousands of people did this within the first couple months. It was great. And we're seeing that continue over time. It's because when we create that ticket, we almost create it like an internal ticket where the driver is involved, so they can see, oh, that station's still offline, and then we let them know, hey, that issue has been resolved. The station that you reported is now back online. And the reason we think that's so important is because that keeps them really engaged. It gives them the incentive to actually go back and do this again. Most people who report something being wrong with a station, they kind of consider it like their station, in the way that you might consider the gas station closest to your house to be your gas station, or the way that you might think of the charging hub near your place to be the place you go get a charge. They have some ownership over it, and we allow for that ownership to feel like they're part of the process in getting it repaired and sort of making it more reliable for themselves. So those are a few of the innovative pieces that we have worked on and that we continue to work on, and fund through some of these means.
Yeah, you definitely get customer loyalty that way, because as you say, there's a little bit of affinity associated with certain stations, either in your neighborhood or ones that you travel through on a routine basis, and seeing them getting repaired feels like a little personal win. And getting an email actually from the ChargePoint operator would definitely be an additional morale boost to that, because nothing's worse than showing up and seeing a broken charger, and getting it fixed feels like a little personal win there.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Newton, much appreciated for coming on to Auto Spec Bits, and the future sounds very bright after getting the Gold Award for 2025 from Parent Ford on Tesla CPOs, and having additional innovation occurring. The Omniport was definitely a big win in 2025. I love that thing to death, and seeing more of that out in the wild is going to be great. And a new ChargePoint app, and additional features, and hopefully improved reliability. And as Mr. Wimmer says, it's game on now. The horses have been let loose, and we are now officially in an EV revolution, and hopefully everyone wins. So, sir, much appreciated for coming on to Auto Spec Bets.
Yeah, thank you so much, Walter, for having me. And it's game on. Let's keep improving everything across the industry to make it a great thing for drivers.
Very well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks so much.